Hey everybody, this is Scott Hudspeth coming to you live from Fort Lauderdale, and I have a dear friend of mine, Amy Broeghammer. Did I say that right?
Yep.
All right, Amy Broeghammer on the call. She has been in the business, as you can see, for 12 years as a listing specialist, and I always love to share a little bit about their past really quick. So she worked at one time for Toshiba Business Solutions, was #1 salesman her first year, and then went on to cardiovascular pharmaceutical. I'm not sure this is the order right, but she was 3 of the 4 years she was in the President's Club as well as that. So a lot of success. It sounds like, Amy, whatever you do, you have major success. So honored to have you on the call with us and share with us this amazing strategy or system or whatever you have to sell 100% of your listings in a very short period of time. I know you have a very short listing period, so appreciate being here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet, you bet. So what do you got for us?
All right. Well, really quickly, I'm a listing specialist in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. Grew up there and enjoy living here. I run a very small team. It's myself. I have a buyer specialist and I have a transaction coordinator. So we're doing, you know, 14 million a year, 50 to 60 transactions. So it's working out quite well. Today we talked a little bit about what we were going to do on the call and shared that in your marketing. So I just wanted to reiterate that we'll talk a little bit about validating motivation and ability on the listings, building confidence, setting yourself apart, and converting more leads. That's kind of the nutshell or the scratching the surface of the Sell 100% of your listings program. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Yep.
All right.
Hey, and I know, Amy, I know you do speaking too. So like you do a lot of speaking, like sounds like across the country, as we were talking about before we got started. So,
yeah.
And do you? Quick question: do you do any coaching for real estate agents, or is it mainly just speaking?
Yeah, so my focus is on the listing side of the business, and that's where I focus my business right now. I do speaking on a national level. I've been at Celebration, and I've done some webinars for CRS, different things like that. I have recently done some 3-hour CE courses on the same topic down in Atlanta. I've done some CE in Cincinnati, and through that process of doing those CEs and all the feedback I was getting from the agents in the class, they wanted more information, they wanted to dig in deeper, they wanted to explore the listing side of the business even more. And I got so many people reaching out asking for coaching or more training that I decided to create a course that anybody can take anywhere in the country on their own time. So that's kind of how this has morphed into the Sell 100% of your listings course. And so really today we're going to be talking for about 45 minutes, but we go as deep as 12 hours on this topic. So hopefully we'll be able to provide some great content today for these agents and be able to kind of expand on that if they so choose.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just throw this up here. I just lost 1 second here. So you're going to share some tips and tools with as far as topic of how to sell 100% of your listings. Is that like, I mean, I've never, I mean, is that really possible?
It is possible. I've been doing it for several years now. Now there's definitely a time or two where things don't work out, but it's very few and far between. But you know, when you set yourself up as a business and you treat your business like a business, you know, because a lot of agents sort of treat it as a hobby. When you're dedicated and you're serious about it, and you go through the process and the correct steps of pre-qualifying and setting yourself up as an expert, you're definitely going to be able to sell all your listings if you are very business-minded about the approach. And, you know, Scott, one of the best quotes I've ever heard is, some of the best listings we take are the ones we don't. I think everybody's probably had that jerk or that hell of a deal that they knew was going to be this way in the beginning, and they wish they would have just not taken it. So this is kind of disqualifying listing opportunities, because why waste your time and money on a property that's never going to sell and it's only going to cause you turmoil the whole time?
Absolutely. You know, you couldn't have nailed it. Yeah, so what you're saying is a lot of people tend to just take the listing instead of go, you know what, this isn't a good fit for me and I'm not going to be able to exceed this person's expectations, so why do it?
100%. That is exactly the way to look at it. And again, it's changing the agent's mindset from I have to take everything that comes my way to I'm going to sell my listings and I'm going to make good, smart business decisions with my money, because we're investing in these properties before we actually get paid. And when you create a great track record of success for yourself, it becomes easier to get more business and to get referrals as a result. So really kind of focusing on quality instead of quantity is sort of the mantra of this pre-qualification, actually.
Beautiful. And so where did you come up with, like, where did you come up with this idea? I mean, obviously trials and errors, or maybe discussed, or maybe just seeing all of, like, whatever you were experiencing, you're like, all right, enough is enough. Like, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I decided to become a listing specialist and hire a buyer's agent in 2009 after doing about 45 transactions myself. And that enabled me to really kind of fine-tune and focus my listing process. I looked at everything from, did I price it right? Did I ask the right questions? What pricing tools do I need to incorporate? How about photos? How about staging? What do I need to do to make sure that I'm literally bulletproofing this listing? And so just one day in January, I looked back at all the listings that didn't sell, and I was just really honest with myself about why. And then, you know, I compiled that list and I figured out I'm going to figure out every way that I can stop this from happening in the future. I'm a high D personality, so time and money and results are really important to me. And so really, I mean, this process that I've created is 12 years in the School of Hard Knocks, and it's just kind of packaged up really neatly for anyone else to be able to use to make their life a lot easier. But, you know, I can think back on so many times, and I'm sure a lot of the agents on this call can think back on so many times where, you know, you missed a birthday celebration, or you called it a day earlier than you wanted to with your kid because you had to go home and negotiate a transaction, and that never ended up closing or selling. And, you know, there's so many of these failures that I had that I learned from, and everybody has these failures. And the key is to learn from them. So many times I would go back and look at a failed listing and say, what did I miss because of that? Do I want to ever do that again? You know, I missed a soccer game, or I missed a recital or something, and I never want to have to do that again. So how can I make sure that I'm only focusing on the clients that are motivated to sell and can sell? And, you know, when you make a mistake more than once, it's a decision. So I like to not make mistakes more than once, if possible.
I like that. I like that. So really what it boils down to, what I'm hearing you say, is pre-qualifying the seller. Like, what does that actually look like, sound like? Do you have some examples that you can share with us?
I sure do. The pre-qualification phone call is the second step of my process, and I'm going to just share with the agents on the call 3 questions that are a part of this pre-qualification process. Again, this is 12 years in the making of how to assemble and ask the questions, and then what you're looking for in a response. And I think one of the best questions that we can ask to set our relationship up and to be really kind of set us apart from other agents is the question, do I have permission to be honest with you throughout this process? I very rarely hear no to this question, and I often hear a sigh of relief when I ask it, because they really want honesty. And I think a lot of, you know, consumers or home sellers out there tend to have this situation where they'll meet a realtor and the realtor will say, well, whatever you want, what do you want, you know, or won't tell them they need staging, or won't be honest about pricing just because they want the listing. And that doesn't do anybody any good. So, you know, setting that relationship up, to be honest, throughout the process is, you know, really going to set you apart, and it's going to kind of put their antennas up to make sure that they're being honest with you too, and sort of set that relationship up from the very beginning of that phone call.
So you throw it right out there. Can I be honest with you? That's a great way to start it. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna throw it right out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of fluff in my game at all. Again, just that high D personality is going to lead right to the questions, and you know, people appreciate it, to be honest.
People do appreciate it, no question.
Yeah.
So the next step of your process is the introduction package. What exactly is that?
Yep. Do you mind really quickly? Let me give the agents 2 more questions on the pre-qualification.
You bet. You bet.
Okay. Another really great question to ask when you're pre-qualifying a listing lead is, how would you rate the condition of your home on a scale of 1 to 10? And let them give you a number, and they'll usually say a 7 or an 8 or something. And then you follow that question up by asking, what do you think it would take to make it a 10? And when you do that, they tell you everything that they need to do to get the house ready. Or they tell you in their words, you know, what's not up to ship shape, or they kind of give you an idea of how much work they have to do until they can list the property, or what kind of condition it is in. And what you want to do when you ask that question is write down word for word everything they say in their words, because these are things that they're telling you are wrong with their house, essentially. And when you repeat those back, or when you validate those back later in the transaction, when you use their words, it's going to resonate so much better with them, and they're going to understand that language easier, and that's just going to help you build that rapport and trust so much quicker. And so, you know, Scott, I just want to give the people on the call today some really great action items that they can implement today. So I really think that's a great question when you're pre-qualifying a listing lead over the phone, just to get a feel for, you know, their expectations of what their house's condition is, and, you know, what they feel like it would take to take it to the next level.
Beautiful.
And I just got one more. Another quick question is, I find everyone has a price in mind that they feel their home is worth. What is yours? And then add in realistically. That realistically kind of sets the stage for, we're being honest, we're being realistic here. And they'll give you a number, or maybe not. And from there, you want to ask, you know, how did you come to that figure? So at this point, and again, write down everything they say word for word, because this is going to be your clue as to where they're coming up with pricing, and how their mind works, and how their mental process works towards pricing the house. Because right here they could say, well, my neighbor's house sold for, you know, $330, and so mine should sell for $330. And there were a couple of other houses on the street that are for sale at this price. So this is your clue to go and look at how the neighbor's house compares. Maybe they have a finished basement and your property doesn't, and so you're going to need to bring that up when we meet with them, and really make it really clear what is a comp and what isn't a comp, and kind of make their pricing understanding a little bit more clear. So they're giving you the clues of where they're coming up with this, and you need to either validate it or correct it as early in the process as possible, so that you can get them level-headed and realistic about fair pricing for their property. So these are, I think, 3 of the best questions on the pre-qualification.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So how honest do you feel that they are on you know, the second and third questions? I mean, do they, like, from the time you talk to them on the phone? I'm sure this is over the phone. So you talk to them on the phone, and then you get there. Does that story change, or are they pretty coherent, like they're pretty the same?
Great question. So a part of my process is to do a site visit, which is like a 5 or 10 minute visit, just to see the property and see what it looks like. And what's funny is, after I do that visit, I generally go back in my car and I pull out this, you know, pre-qualification worksheet that I use, and I check and see what they rated their home, because usually it's not their number. It's not accurate.
Right.
So, I mean, the reason why I do a site visit is because I just personally have to see and feel the home, and I need to know what kind of work is going to be involved in getting it ready, because the last thing I want to do is give somebody a price based on this expectation I have in my head and it not meet that expectation, and I have to lower the price. So I'd rather just do my research before I give a price, and sometimes they're right on, sometimes they're not, but it gives you a good indication of what kind of people they are and how they keep their house and what the showing, the showing process is going to look like with them. So, and in terms of the price, they're usually pretty realistic. But again, it doesn't matter what the number is. I'm going to still give them the actual information, but at least it'll tell me how far off we are, or if we're completely out of reason on price from the very beginning.
And I could see where these questions would help you to find out whether there's emotion involved, which normally there is, or if there's necessity or scarcity, or you probably, some of that comes out in here, obviously, and you feel that from their voice and fluctuation, tone, and stuff like that, it helps with, because these are some tough questions,
Yes.
It's kind of attacking them instead of just the home. It's like, man, I got to answer it. My home, why would I say my home's a 1? That's an insult to me. So like you're pulling on some emotional strings there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the pre-qualification process is 3 parts, and in the beginning it builds rapport so that it makes it feel a little bit better, and then we get into these questions that are a little tougher, and we talk about financing and things like that. So I mean, it's definitely a process, and you're going to pull out some of that DISC profile with the answers to these questions. But it's the first step, and what's really interesting about these pre-qualification questions is with agents that are using them, and again, it's a 2-page questionnaire. I'll just share with you this quick feedback from one of the agents that's using the pre-qualification questionnaire, and he said, at the end, he had a call with an expired listing, and he said at the end of the call, the client stated that she will not be scheduling any more appointments with brokers. It appears the quality and depth of our conversation caused her to decline additional appointments. These questions and approach have set me apart in the eyes of this expired lead. And so, I mean, just using pre-qualification questions are setting agents apart from the very first phone call.
I love it. I love it. And that's the thing, is time, like you can't get your time back. So if you don't ask the proper questions, then you go there and you waste a trip there, however long that may be, and then time with the seller, and then you leave with nothing or not even a chance. You could have prohibited all the time wasted right from the start by asking hard, difficult questions. Yeah. Cool.
Right, and there's a lot of agents probably on this call right now that say, you know what though, I have the time. I have the time to do that and flub around, but you know what? At some point, you're going to need to be able to grow and scale your business, and that's not going to ever happen if you're not being diligent and intentional about, streamlining this process.
Janet's asking a question. Do you go inside the property at your site visit?
Yes, it's a 5 to 10 minute. I run through really quickly and just check out what I'm looking at, make some notes just before I start my pricing process.
Perfect. Yep. Awesome. All right. So okay, we did that. So the next step in your process is the introduction package. So you're going to cover, and I really appreciate you doing this. So obviously, this just goes deeper into your 3-step process here.
Yeah, well, it's a 21-step process.
Okay.
This
21
is step
steps.
3.
All right.
And so the introduction package is kind of the next level, and it's something that I think a lot of agents on this call can actually put into practice today and really use. And the introduction package is really setting people apart as well, agents apart in the market. And what the introduction package is essentially sort of a pre-listing package of sorts. There's a million different ways to prepare and package a pre-listing package, but what I've created here is sort of a basic process. Every year, NAR puts together a profile of home buyers and sellers, and basically it asks questions of home sellers. What did you want from your realtor? So this report will literally tell you everything that a seller wants from their realtor in priority order. So when you use that report and you add to it what you do that's awesome from the same list, then you mirror that together, you package that up, and you create an introduction package. And that introduction package can be done, you know, on paper, it can be done on email, it can be done in video, any way that it can be delivered to the seller, just to show that I know what you're looking for, I know what you need from me, and I can meet your need. So you know, you may be answering questions or showing them that you know what you're talking about before they ever ask, which is great.
Yes.
And that just basically creates this super realtor's introduction package. And it can have topics such as my marketing tools and tactics, my pricing philosophies and track record of success, something about how you can help them prepare the home for sale. That's what, you know, sellers want. Proven and experienced negotiator. You can give them an understanding of what it's like to work with you and what clients say about working with you in terms of testimonials. So it's just a very easy way to show potential listing leads that you can meet their needs without them ever realizing what their needs are, because we already know that from the NAR report.
Hey, you mentioned something that I know is probably one of the hardest things in the real estate, like what you do when talking to borrowers. And obviously there's, like, this is like talking about price.
Yep.
And so I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe we talked about this package has a pricing tool or some sort of,
so,
yeah. Can you touch on that for a second?
Yeah. Let me see what we got here. As a part of this webinar, I'm going to give you a link to see my very first introduction package email as a bonus. So at the very end, or we'll give you an opportunity to put in your email, and we'll send you so you can see my first introductory video of my introduction package. Agents always want to see stuff and how they're working.
Cool. Absolutely.
So pricing.
So as far as the, yeah, okay, cool, perfect.
It's the fifth part, the pricing analysis, and we have several pricing tools that we go over. And again, the pricing tools, you know, you don't have to use all of them. You can use some of them, whatever support what you need to do in terms of pricing. But here are some tools that we, you know, we teach and we can share with our sellers, because what we want is a mutual pricing process where they can get on the same page with us and see what we're seeing so that they're realistically priced. So these tools will just completely give you confidence about what you're doing and be able to deliver that confidence to a seller when you're talking about pricing. And some of those tools are the, we use the MLS to create 2 emails, which one of them we'll go over today, which is a sold and an active email, and we'll talk about what that is. We do a pulse report, which basically pulls, you know, average sale prices over the time that they've owned their home. There's a really great report in Showing Time if you guys use Showing Time for your showings, and it'll show where the showings are happening, so you can do a targeted analysis of that. We talk about possibly bringing in an appraisal for certain circumstances. We make sure that we have a net sheet so that they know what they're going to look like at the end of the day. We've got a number of visuals that we use to show sellers these concepts to make it easier for them to understand and absorb. And we've got some nice analogies to use with them just to kind of make it really easy to understand and basic. But here's a nice little tool that you guys can begin using today in your business. It's what I call the recent sales email. And this language is something that we put together so basically one of the first steps of pricing the property is to go into your MLS and pull down recent sold properties that are within, you know, a close proximity to where your listing would be, that have similar beds and baths and maybe even size-wise, and have sold most recently. Those three things are all things that appraisers do when they pull value for a property. So you're going to use those parameters to pull recent sales from the MLS, and you're going to have a list of those. And you're going to want to fine-tune those a little bit, but maybe give them no more than 10 recent solds that are similar to their property. And then what you want to do is send those to the seller and include this language. Hey seller, I was just looking at some listings that sold near your house recently, and they appear to be about the same bed and bath. Could you look at these and tell me which one of these recent sales is most similar to your house and why? And, depending on your personality as a realtor, a lot of realtors are high I personalities, so they're like always wanting to please people and never want to say no or give bad news or whatever. This tool is amazing because when you send this to a seller and they see what sold recently, they're going to get a really good feel for if their price is realistic or not just by looking at the pictures and the listings.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Scott, the beauty of this is they come to the conclusion themselves sometimes. They'll email me back and say, well, I guess I'm not getting $280 for my house.
Right on. That's the best news, right? Now you have a realistic buyer. Yeah, right.
And they know, they see it, they get it. It comes full circle for them. They're seeing what I'm seeing, and they're involved in the process. And that's just so much better. When they're involved in the process, they believe themselves more than they believe you. So they're seeing this and they understand it. And furthermore, it shows them what their house needs to look like or shouldn't look like when you put it on the market. So it's a really great kind of dual tool there.
Good point. Great point. So as far as the process, and the process is probably the most important part. So when you communicate with the borrower in the way they like to be communicated with, which it means step by step in a process, you want to talk about setting expectations, because I think a lot of people, like you, and you've already kind of hinted to that, people are scared to have that conversation. They're scared to say, here's how I work, or here's the process that I take, being that their fear of not pleasing these people. What kind of things are you discussing at this point in the process?
So really, I think an important part of what you're saying is that from that initial pre-qualification phone call, I'm preparing them that this is a process and these are the steps that we take. And I find that, if anybody out there has kids, preparing them for what's going to happen next is so vital to them behaving. So we're going to go to the zoo later today and you're going to have to wear a coat and it's going to take us about 30 minutes to drive there. They're fully prepared when we get to that point that they're going to put their coat on with no fight, right? And they're going to not complain on the drive. So we're doing the same thing with sellers when we're saying, first we're going to talk about price, then we're going to get the property ready for market. This is how that's going to work from the beginning so that it's not like they're kicking and screaming once we tell them it's time to stage your property or it's time to do this or that. And again, I want to do that as a listing agent because if they're not on board with me from the beginning, then I'm going to cut them loose. I don't want to, invest the time in pricing and going through all this if they're not going to follow the program from the beginning. And so I'm not a big fan of surprises. So I want this all laid out for them, in advance so that they know what they're getting into as well. So a couple of the topics that we really focus on future pacing on once we get into the listing meat of things is we tell them about what our expectations are for showings and how those work. We talk about negotiating expectations, what's reasonable, what we can do and give and take. We talk about preparing them for price adjustments. We talk about that at the listing appointment. And we focus on time boundaries with both them and the agents. And we prepare them to use an online signature tool so that we're not driving around in the middle of the night getting, properties or contracts.
Right on.
Sold and things like that.
You bring up a.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, you bring up a good concept, and I think this is a hard one for a lot of people too. Is time boundaries. I mean, realtors, like, it's like, how do you properly set boundaries when, like, it never shuts off? Because obviously the home is for sale 24/7. You can't shut that number off. You can't shut the website off. You can't shut the marketing off. I mean, like you got to work 24/7, don't you?
Well, your marketing works 24/7. Your virtual
There you
tour
go.
works 24/7.
I like that.
But, you know, we can still do this business and have time boundaries. I see so many agents just working around the clock, night and day, and it's wearing them out, and their family is suffering as a result. And that's the thing that hits home so much for me is, you know, some of these agents never have boundaries, and their family doesn't ever have a focused time, or, you know, they don't have time to themselves to regenerate or do anything like that. So I've created some time boundaries mostly because of necessity. You know, I have 2 little kids at home and I cannot get anything done there. So I had to figure out how to set up my business so that my focus was during the work hours. So my day is 7:30 to 4:30, and I do all my appointments during those times. Any phone calls, any pre-qualification, even my pricing and strategy meeting, which most agents do a listing presentation, I'm doing that during the workday. Whether it's, you know, at 7 a.m., at lunchtime, at, you know, 3 o'clock is my last appointment of the day. I'm telling my listing opportunities or my listing leads what times I have available. I'm not asking them what works for them. I'm giving them suggestions and times. And so they get the feel through the pre-qualification and the, you know, the pricing presentation when we're meeting that I run a legit business and it's during work hours. Now, I always tell people, you know, I don't do appointments or schedule anything on the evenings or weekends because that's, first of all, time with my family, and second of all, I need to reserve that time to negotiate and deal with any offers that might come in, because that's exactly when they come in. And Lord knows I don't want to be at a 2-hour listing presentation when an offer comes in on your house. I want to be able to respond to that immediately. So I prepare my sellers that when we do get an offer, if it's, you know, after 5 o'clock, you know, they're home, they're feeding their kids, they're putting them to bed, they're tired, they've been up all day long, they've been drained from work. You know, they probably haven't even talked to their spouse yet that day. And, you know, if we're getting an offer in the evening, what I want to do and what I do is I have an email prepared. I pop in all the terms of the offer in the email, and then I email that to them, both of them at night, so that they can look at that, they can absorb it, they can understand it, and at the end of that email I'll say, you know, if you're ready to roll and you want to respond to this tonight, shoot me back an email. If you want to do a phone call, let's plan on talking at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'll get you on a conference call. We'll go through all of this, and then we'll present our counteroffer at that time. So I'm kind of setting it up so that if they do want to immediately respond and they're ready for that and they're, you know, that type of personality that they know exactly what they're going to do, then all I have to do is edit some documents in an online signing system in the evening and send it back to them. But if they want to have this long, drawn-out conversation, which is totally fine if they want to do that, we're going to do that tomorrow morning when they're ready and they've thought about everything and they've formulated their questions and concerns.
Well, here's the cool part. You close 50 to 60 transactions, and you set your own times. I just want to make sure everybody heard that. So what do you do, like, and I'm sure everybody's thinking this, nobody's asking it, but what do you do if somebody says, Amy, like, the only time I can meet, I'm sorry, is 6:30?
Okay, so I'll be honest with you. I could change if I choose to. I would say in the last 12 months, I've done 2 appointments in the evenings. I absolutely never do them on the weekends. I'm just not in my mode. It's not business to me. So, I mean, I will make concessions. I've also done like a Zoom.us call, which is a video call, or a Skype call, or, you know, a 3-way phone call, and I'll send in the documents in advance and I'll say set aside, you know, 30 to 40 minutes for this. We're going to go through each page. I will never, ever, ever skip a step, because the minute you do that, I'll bite you in the ass, literally.
Right, right.
but there are ways around it. And if they start to say stuff like that, I'll say, okay, well, again, my evenings and weekends are for family and offers. Why don't we do, a conference call? Or I'll start to give them other options. And almost every time we can figure out a way to do this, not on an evening or a weekend.
So, or you just go, this isn't the, like, we're not a good fit, and move on,
Exactly.
right? Like, next?
Because if it
Okay.
starts there,
Right.
it's never going to end. It's always
Never
going to
gonna
be
end.
that.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Great way to put it. Great way to put it. All right. So time blocking is like, I just, you know what? That's probably, for me, that's probably the best part of this whole 45 minutes we're going to spend together, hour or whatever. But I mean, I think people are so scared to lose something by saying that these are my time zones. Like, this is when I work, this is when I don't work, and like that they just let the people control them instead of control the people. Like, not control people, but control
Right.
It's a business. So I think it's important. So
you know
awesome.
what?
Congratulations on that part.
Thanks. Again, it was by necessity that I had to figure it out because I was, having a baby, and I needed to figure out how I can make this business work for me and have a family, because I see so many agents struggling with that every day. And, it's just a great opportunity to, here's the thing about listings. These people that are hiring you, they want you to lead them to success. They want you to lead them. So you need to tell them what it's going to take to get the property sold. And if you lead them and you tell them, this is what happens next, this is what I have available, this is where we're going to talk, this is what we're going to do, they will follow. Don't ask them what they want to do, because they don't know. They don't know what's right or wrong. Just tell them what happens next, and they will follow, and it'll make it so much easier on everybody. They want to be led. They really do.
They really do, yes. All right. So some amazing tools. You got a lot of, like, you covered a lot of stuff. I think, the time management sheets for me, setting the questions up front, going straight for it instead of sugarcoating it and making it about, like, let's get your home sold. I think that's what they want. So we're an agent. Where can an agent go to get more information about these ideas, since we can only, we only have so much time for them? So what do you have to get more information from you, or hang out with you, or like be a part of Amy's world? How does Amy
Sure.
I love that on your thing there. So
sure. Well, let me tell you just a couple more things. I promised some freebies on the webinar when we talked, Scott. So this is one of the things that I use to set showing expectations for sellers, and I'm going to be providing this as a bonus item at the end. So all you have to do is put in your email, and we'll send you this as well. This is what I call a pantry pinup, and it basically moron-proofs the showing process. We hang this up in the pantry, and even the kids can go through and do some of these things before the showing, and it just keeps everybody on track and makes sure that it presents the home well. And so everybody's going to get a copy of this, and you'll be able to put in your own logo and start using it right away in your business.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, if you want more information, you want to dig in deeper, again, this was, 40 minutes of content, and we've got 10 or 12 hours in the course that I do. We also can do, a 3-hour CE wherever you are, and dig in just a little bit deeper on that as well. But right now I have the course available so that I can serve more agents anywhere at any time, which is really great, and you guys can take it as quickly or as slowly as you want to absorb. We have 7 weeks of 90-minute live webinars. So, I mean, that's a lot of time to be spending on this, but I am on all the calls, doing them live, answering questions, giving feedback. These are also recorded, and there's lifetime access. So we have students that go back and watch these things 3 and 4 times just to see what they missed or add on top of what their process is. And, with that, we also have a private Facebook Mastermind group where I do live Q&A sessions, and we're sharing ideas and tools and sharing successes, and it's so great to have that camaraderie and support from the other students in each class. I have these tools, my process that I showed in the very beginning, We have that editable. Everything's been professionally designed, so you can use these documents in your business. You just pop in your logo, and you can look as professional as, you know, all of the tools that we have available. Just plug and play, all included. And when everybody is in perfect attendance on the webinar, I'll do a one-on-one call just to follow up, see what additional questions I can answer. There's just a lot of engagement. And then in terms of bonuses, we have interviews with stager, with inspectors. We've got videos, free trials for products that we talk about, some of the technologies that we have, discounts. I have a great webinar called Build Rapport in 7 Seconds Using Video that they have access to. We have other member benefits and special pricing on future trainings. And that is all packaged up for $997. I've gotten some great feedback about the content. Nobody's ever seen this much content or information provided in a course before. It's extremely deep and literally plug and play for anyone to go forward and use this and create a business where they're selling 100% of their listings every time. So I've got 2 classes coming up. All you have to do to reserve your seat is go to amyb.com/buy, and we have a November 16th course. We need 10 people in the course in order to run it, and the class will be over by the end of the year, so you will be able to start 2017 off with a bang. Everything you need will be there, and again, everything's recorded, so if you don't get it live, you can get it recorded and you're still involved in the process. It's a great way to get everything you need done during your downtime so that you can start the new year off. And then again, we'll have the January 11th class start in January. And if you do choose to sign up for that date, we'll give you access to some of the stuff in advance so that you can get started early. And again, that's a $997 price, and that price will be increasing in March based on the feedback of the classes that I have now. They think that that price is way too low for all of the content and information that we're providing. So all you have to do is, to reserve your seat, is go to amyb.com/buy, and this is what the screen looks like, and there's a little drop down, and you can choose November or January. And then, of course, to get your free bonus material, all you have to do is go to amyb.com/bonus, and you can get the introductory package email video, and you can get the pantry pin up, and then I'll have a free trial in there for a little product that I have that'll be a great opportunity for you guys. So just go to amyb.com/bonus, and you just put in your name and email, and you'll start to get the bonus items emailed to you. And then again, if you'd like to grab a seat in our next class and start changing your life and your business now, the web addresses are right up there, and I'm happy to post those in the chat as well if that's helpful for everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to, yeah, so whichever, in bonus is VONU. You had it on the, you had it on there as VOU, but yeah, you just put a U in there. So let me just put that down there for the, whoops, not that one. Chat. You got it there? Okay, cool. There you go. Perfect. So it's down there, the buy one down there. A couple questions coming in, Amy. I appreciate all this. So one of the ones is, so what do you do when a seller wants an open house and you don't work weekends? What do you do?
Well, the beauty of this course is that we are pricing properties and presenting them so well that they're generally selling within a week. So we don't have a need to do open houses. We don't even have necessarily a need to do flyers and feature sheets and things like that. So again, all the work that we're focusing on is done up front to make sure that our pricing and our presentation is on point so that when we go on the market, we're getting so much traffic and business on the typical listing and the MLS that we're not needing to do that open house. And furthermore, all of my personal listings have a virtual tour, which I consider a 24/7 open house. and it's trackable, kind of, so I know like how many times it's being hit online. I haven't done an open house in at least 7 years. It's just not necessary. But you know, if you're insisting on doing an open house, there are agents in my office that are offering all the time to do open houses, and that's a great opportunity so that you're delegating that and not having to do an open house on the weekends.
Cool.
What's next, Scott?
Do you teach how to get motivated seller prospects? I think that's the first question that came in, and another one that came in is, where do you get your leads? I think someone said, how do you generate? How does Amy get her leads? Do you buy your seller leads, or like, so first question is, how do you teach how to get a motivated seller prospect?
Right.
And then the other
so in terms of motivation, the focus there is using the pre-qualification questionnaire. Literally would take you step by step through uncovering two things, motivation and ability. Because in order to have a listing be saleable, and that is actually a word, in order for it to be saleable, they have to have a certain amount of motivation, and they have to have the ability, meaning financial ability, to sell the property. So that's what that pre-qualification questionnaire is. That is used from the point that you get a listing lead. So it doesn't matter where your leads come from. We've got people in the course that focus wholly on expireds. And when they're getting these expired leads, they're using, you know, Vulcan 7 or some other process to get their leads and make these phone calls. And the minute that they convert one of these expireds to a meeting, then they're taking them through the pre-qualification process. So this kind of, you know, sell 100% of your listings process and system works with any lead generation opportunity. I personally, because I have a great track record, I focus on repeat and referral business, and I get a ton of business from agents across the country that want a referral fee for me selling listings for their clients in Cincinnati. So that's the majority of my business. There are agents in our course that are focusing on FSBOs and expireds. There are agents that are focusing on Facebook and getting leads from Facebook or doing social media. There are agents that do door knocking that are able to apply this and really set themselves apart from the other agents that they're competing with. I personally think that agents that are doing expireds and for sale by owners using this process are blowing people away. You know, they're totally taking a different approach than all the other agents out there, and they're singling, you know, themselves out. I can tell you that, you know, one of the testimonials, the guy is calling expireds all the time. 2 of the testimonials in this class, and you can read those on the amyb.com/more info. You know, one of the agents won from calling expireds, and the lady just stopped taking other appointments. Another one got the listing, and there were 3 other agents that were interviewing, and they said, by far your process is so impressive and different that we hired you. So it's just, awesome. It's completely setting them apart when they're in heavy competition. So the people in the class are saying, you know, I don't even care if I'm competing anymore because I feel like I'm going to win every time, just based on the way that I'm presenting myself as an expert and setting myself apart. So, you know, I don't know if that answers your question. I really feel like this will work with any lead generation model, but we do not focus in the course on getting leads. We focus on, from the point that you have the opportunity, pre-qualifying them and getting it sold. But I can recommend other, you know, options for, you know, lead generation courses and classes that you can do.
Okay, so awesome answer. So Catherine's asking, where do we put our email in? So for the amyb.com/buy, if you click on the date that you want, so you're going to have to choose one. There's 2 dates that she's starting with. One is November 16th, which is the first one. The other one is the 11th. If you click one of those dates and then click buy now, if you're interested in that, you would scroll down and enter all your information there, and it's name, email, all that stuff. So that's there. And then, of course,
her question,
the other one,
though, might have been to get the bonus material. Where do you put your email in? And that's at amyv.com/bonus, and then
Bonus.
that
There you
page
go.
will bring
Cool.
up a page to get that additional information. I'm not sure which one she was asking.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're both there. So then maybe she was looking for that one. Cool. All right. Qualified buyers. Got that. Do you use the Belkin 7? Do you use anything like that?
I have used Vulcan 7 before. There's a number of students in the course that have and do use Vulcan 7. I use the old telephone to call my
There
past
you
and
go.
current clients.
There you go. All right. And then Donna's asking what dates in November for the classes. And just so you know, they are recorded, so you can get them forever, but they are live. If you can't attend the live, you're going to get the recordings for a lifetime, if I heard that right. So.
Yep, so it's recorded and posted on a member site the following day, but it's starts November 16th, which is a Wednesday, and there's 7 sessions, and they follow consecutively every Wednesday from there until the end of the year, and we finish up, I think, the last week in December. Again, I know there's holidays involved in there, so everything's recorded in case you can't make the live call. I just wanted people to be able to take action before the end of the year and really kind of start January 2017 really well.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. Here's a good question. Do you take into consideration the different markets? Here in Illinois, we have not seen the quick sales that many are experiencing. Great question.
Yep. You know, I started this process when we were deep into the bubble burst and recession, when most of the properties that I was selling were in the negative, and it was very difficult to sell. And I can tell you that I've used this same process in a good market and in a very terrible market and seen excellent success. Again, it's all about making sure that you are better than your competition, that you're priced well, that you're presenting the property well, and that your sellers have reasonable expectations. And my listing average since I've been a listing specialist in 2009 is 30 days. That's in a bad market.
Wow.
That's in a good
Wow.
market. It definitely drops. Like this year it's 7 days, but even in the hardest market, 30 days is great. And again, we're doing all the work up front so that we're not having to linger on the market, and we're addressing and adjusting the price quickly so that we're not kind of falling out of the bottom. But yeah, I mean, it can be applied even in the toughest markets and still really come out well for your sellers. And I think that's probably why I got so much of a following with repeat and referral business, because I was experiencing success with the sales in the difficult market. And if you can do it in a difficult market, wow, it's so easy in a great market.
Yeah. Here's another great question by Liz. It says, people are in a hurry these days, which everybody, and they don't want to follow the process and would rather have someone just come to do the presentation immediately. How do you, I mean, that's just a, what do you say to that?
I say, well, I'm not the right agent for you.
Yeah, there you go. I knew that's what you were going to say.
I mean, I'm just not going to skip a step in my process. It's too important to make sure that we both understand each other and I understand exactly what your situation is before we move forward. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. It's just so important to follow the process because, you know, it's like a recipe for success, if you will. If you're baking a cake and you leave out the eggs, you're not going to like what that cake is going to be when it comes out of the oven. So, you know, I'm just not willing to jeopardize my reputation or whoever referred you to me or, you know, really anything to skip a step is just doing the seller a disservice. And I believe so much in it. And so if you don't have a process that you believe in, then you're going to let it go. But if you do, you know what the value is of that, and you'll see it through.
Yeah, you have to follow a process. Otherwise, like how do you keep it straight if you don't follow a process? Then that's when you get working at 9 o'clock at night, working weekends. Like have a process and stick to it. The people that like the process, great. The people that don't, like there's one of you and 1,000 of them is what I always say. Like just and make a living with like freedom. Like you've created a freedom for yourself and your family to actually enjoy your family, which I love the most. and you're like killing it with the freedom, and just by saying here it is, setting it up properly, and going over it in a proper manner. And if the ones that like it, great. If the ones that don't, who cares? So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that part about you. So
You know,
very
and
cool.
I think what the key is there is showing them that you have a process and you're a legitimate business person. And, you know, this is the process that I show them and I share with them. And once they see this, and they're like, wow, this is real. And they know where they're at in the process, it makes more sense to them. So if you're setting it up the right way in the very beginning, they're probably not going to be like, oh, let's just hurry through this and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool, very detailed. But I think that for the average person, they're more detailed than not detailed. And if they know what's going to happen next, they're not excited. They don't get anxious. They don't have anxiety. They don't have stress. They're not staying up at night going, is Amy doing this or doing that? Or she like they just know without thinking about it. So awesome stuff,
Yep.
Amy B. So amyb.com/buy. Highly recommended. Great stuff. Like an awesome course to get you ready for 2017. amyb.com/more info if you'd like more info. And then, of course, the bonuses, don't miss out on those. amyb.com/bonus. Some great stuff. A lot of different ways to connect with Amy. Amy, I sincerely appreciate you and respect what you've built. And just anything I can do for you, I'm here, my friend. And we'll talk more about what we talked about before the class to bring this to the rest of the world. So thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Sounds great. I really hope that the agents on the call have found a few things that they can implement right away. And I really am looking forward to seeing and hearing back from them what kind of impact these questions and these processes and tools are going to actually result in for them in their business and their lives. So thanks for the opportunity to further the message and the good word.
You bet, you bet. So if you're joining us for the first time, go to our private Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/agent mastermind. And great news is we'll see you same time, same place, right here on Agent Mastermind. Thanks everybody so much. And Amy, most importantly, thank you for being here and giving your awesome knowledge and time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, take care everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.